Today, we're diving into how Tesla is building cars at a speed that, honestly, sounds made up. They are completely rewriting the rules of a century-old industry, and it all comes down to some numbers that are just wild.
Okay, so first, let's set a baseline. You take a legacy car maker, right? Someone like Toyota or General Motors. To build one single car, it takes them somewhere between 17 and 27 hours. That's the standard. They've been perfecting that process for decades. Got it?
Now look at Tesla. They've managed to get that whole process down to just 10 hours on average for a vehicle. I mean, that's a huge leap forward no matter how you slice it. But believe it or not, that's not even the craziest number we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the number that just breaks your brain a little bit. Over at their factory in Shanghai, they have things so dialed in that a brand new car rolls off the assembly line every 40 seconds. That is literally less time than it takes to brew up a coffee.
So you have to ask, right? How on earth is that even possible? Well, it's not magic. It's the end result of completely rethinking a process that's been around for 100 years. And funny enough, it's an innovation that was born on the brink of total disaster.
Okay, so to really get what Tesla pulled off, you first have to understand the problem they were trying to solve. Building a car the old way is this incredibly complicated puzzle. You're stamping, moving, and welding thousands of little parts together in a very rigid, step-by-step line. This analogy really paints a picture of the inefficiency. Just imagine being a worker, literally having to crawl inside this cramped, hollow metal skeleton of a car just to install wires or seats. It's slow, it's awkward, and it creates bottleneck after bottleneck on the line. And here is what that looks like in the real world. Just look at the rear underbody of the car. The Model 3, which used the traditional method, had 171 separate pieces of metal that needed about 1,600 welds to put together. With the new method they used for the Model Y, that number went from 171 pieces down to just 2. And from 1,600 welds down to 0. It's an insane simplification.
So what was this massive breakthrough? Well, you're going to love this. The inspiration came from something super simple, something a lot of us probably played with as kids, a little die-cast toy car. Tesla's engineers basically looked at a toy car, saw its body was made in a single piece, and asked, hey, why can't we do that? But, for a real car.
And the answer to that question is a technology they call Gigacasting. The idea is actually pretty simple at its core. You take a bunch of molten aluminum, you inject it into a massive mold under incredible pressure, and you create a huge, complex part of the car's frame all in one shot.
And this is the beast that makes it happen, the Gigapress. We're talking about a machine that applies up to 9,000 tons of force. It takes a process that used to need hundreds of different robots and welding stations, and it boils it all down to a single step that takes about 2 minutes.
But this revolution was not an overnight success. Far from it. To really understand how they got here, we have to go back to a period that Elon Musk famously called production hell. This is the part of the story where the dream of a perfect, futuristic, automated factory slammed headfirst into a very, very painful reality. So back in 2017, the grand vision was for something they called the Alien Dreadnought. It was supposed to be a factory so automated it would barely need any people, just pumping out 5,000 cars every week. But the robots, they just couldn't do it. They failed at delicate things, like installing complex wiring harnesses. Production completely stalled out, the company was burning through cash, and that whole vision turned into a complete nightmare.
And that whole painful experience led to this really critical lesson, which Musk summed up perfectly here. They learned, the hard way, that the goal isn't to automate everything. The goal is smart automation, where you combine the raw power and precision of machines with the incredible problem-solving skills and adaptability of human beings.
So after surviving production hell, and now with this incredible new power of gigacasting, Tesla came up with a totally new factory concept. They call it the unboxed process. And honestly, it's just as revolutionary as the Gigapress itself.
So check this out. Instead of one long, single-file assembly line, they build a car in huge chunks, all at the same time, kind of like giant Lego blocks. This means workers can easily get into each section and install all the interiors and wiring while it's wide open. Then, at the very end, they just bring the completed blocks together and snap them into place.
And the results of going unboxed? They're just staggering. It allows for a factory that is 40% smaller, and it cuts the total cost of manufacturing by an incredible 50%. I mean, these are not small adjustments. This completely changes the entire financial equation of building a car.
Let's go back to that house analogy one last time. The old way was like building a frame and crawling through the studs. This new method? It's like fully furnishing and decorating individual rooms first and then clicking them all together to make the final house. It's just infinitely more efficient for everybody.
So why does any of this matter if you're not Tesla? Well, because they didn't just build a better factory for themselves. By going through that very public failure and learning from it, they basically created a new playbook that has forced the entire auto industry, an industry that hasn't changed much in 100 years, to start playing catch-up. And you can see the industry is responding. All the legacy giants, Toyota, GM, Ford, and a ton of the newer EV startups are all scrambling to adopt gigacasting and modular assembly. You know you've really changed the game when all of your biggest rivals start copying you. So I think the most important takeaway here is this. The 10-hour car, the 40-second car, it's not a magic trick. It is the hard-earned result of a company that was bold enough to aim for the impossible, fail in a really big and public way, learn from those mistakes, and just never, ever stop trying to make it better.
As the highly respected manufacturing expert Sandy Munro said, what Tesla accomplished should be a massive wake-up call for anybody who makes anything, anywhere in the world.
Which kind of leaves us with this one big question to think about. If Tesla is supposedly a decade ahead of everyone else today, and the whole industry is now in a flat-out sprint to catch them, what does that mean for the next 10 years? What new revolution is already being designed right now? What will the factory of the future even look like?